Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to AI in the Future of Libraries. I'm Gail Hurley, Professional Development Coordinator for the Connecticut State Library Division of Library Development. And I'd like to welcome back with us David Lee King to take us through this topic. David Lee King is the Digital Services Director at Topeka and Shawnee County Public Library, where he plans, implements, and experiments with emerging technology trends. He speaks internationally about emerging trends, website management, digital experience, and social media, and has been published in many library-related journals. David is also a library journal mover and shaker. So welcome, David.
Hey, thanks. All right. Let me find my slides and we will get started. And today we are talking about hopefully everybody's favorite topic for this afternoon, AI or artificial intelligence, and more specifically, trying to be practical about it in libraries. So basically in this webinar, I'm going to explain what AI is really quickly. We'll discuss a couple of AI tools and how a library might use them. And then I'll dive into policies and if you need an AI policy or guidelines or that kind of thing. And we'll look at one and see how it does. But first, a few examples of me using AI. AI helped me write the blurb or the description for my presentation that I'm giving today. I wrote a first draft of it, and then I asked AI, I think I probably used ChatGPT, to help make it better. I asked for it to tighten the description up a little bit more, make it sound a little more cohesive, and it did a good job. The image that I'm using every once in a while in this presentation, the little circle with the AI letters in it. I also asked probably Google's Gemini to make that. I asked it to make me a slide. And oddly enough, didn't completely get that one right. It got me a really cool image, but I also asked it to be 16 by 9, which is the presentation slide format size. It didn't do that. It kept giving me, I think, a square image or different sizes of images. So good enough. I asked for a black background and then just dumped it on my black slide and called it good. And then I'm having a little more fun here with images as well using Canva.com, their Dreamlab tool, to make some images of me giving a talk about AI in libraries. So here I asked for an image of a techie librarian giving a talk about practical AI for libraries. So it did okay. Looks like it was focusing on a talk in a library. And I mean, those people certainly look fine, but they don't look like me. So I tried again. I said, okay, do a similar image, but make it an older white male who is bald and wearing reading glasses. Maybe a little too old here. Looks like, what's that guy's name? The co-creator of Seinfeld. That's who that looks like to me. Apparently it did not remember my other requirements, so I tried one more time. This time I asked for a cool techie librarian giving a talk about practical AI in libraries. The librarian is balding with a buzz cut and is wearing glasses. Hopefully a little better. It's getting a little better, a little younger of a person. Still actually giving a talk in a library, probably because I asked for a talk about practical AI in libraries. It interpreted that phrase a little differently than I was thinking. It took that as meaning the space instead of what my talk was about. So not bad. And that's sort of how this process works sometimes, using the little AI prompting tool to get what you want. Because you won't necessarily get what you want, you'll get exactly what you asked for sometimes. But that said, these images all work for, you know, a quick poster or social media post, that kind of thing. And that's how this sort of works. And these tools are still very new to us. Chat GPT was released to the public on November 30th, 2022. So like 2.5 years ago. At least that's when people really started noticing AI. In reality, we've had different types of AI for a pretty long time at this point, but not generative AI, which is what Chat GPT is. And the thing that's made the big splash and has already started to reshape our world. 2.5 years, that's pretty fast. It's also freaking some of us out. I have a friend from high school who swears he will never use AI. Of course, I've seen him say that while he's using Facebook, which is full of AI. Also seen a librarian saying much the same thing. No library should ever use AI. Though again, they posted those things to Facebook, which uses an AI generated algorithm and feed. So your mileage might vary there. So show of virtual hands, raise your hand up, think about this. Who listening to this presentation has used AI this week? I will guess more of you than you think, depending on, yeah, I'm seeing a few thumbs up and hand raises. So who has used, we'll talk through this a bit. Have you used some of these things in the last week or even the last day? Search engines. Search engines use AI. So Google's predictive search algorithm, adding words as you're typing them in the search box. Other search engines like what's it, Perplexity? That's an AI-based search engine. Google, my point here is you've probably used Google. Google uses AI in their search. How about social media? I was just mentioning Facebook, so that was sort of a hint there, right? But most social media platforms these days have a pretty huge use of AI. Well, just in our news feeds, all those, what you haven't seen when you log into Facebook, that kind of thing. And with like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you see more of the similar things based on what you click on, what you like, what you watch, that kind of thing. You get more recommendations and ads focused on the things that you were interested in the near past. And then with some of these tools like TikTok or Instagram, some of their filters and things you can add in to make a fun photo or a video, they use AI tools as well to do that. So tons of AI going on in social media. How about your smartphone? An iPhone or an Android phone, again, tons of AI going on your phone in different places with apps, with how it works, that kind of thing. The camera, make, those automatic settings, making your photo look better than if you didn't have those tools. That's AI, a type of AI. Again, with your phone, how about facial or fingerprint recognition? It's using a type of AI. So let's see. Siri or Google Assistant, so voice activated things, using a type of AI. Google Maps. If you've used that in the last week and got that, you're still on the fastest route. That's using a type of AI to figure out your best route based on the amount of traffic, really based on where everybody's phones are in their cars and your arrival time. Anybody sent a text message lately? So the keyboard on your phone or on your computer being helpful by predicting what you really meant to type. Sometimes helpful, sometimes not, but changing words, giving you suggestions for words and phrases these days. It's a type of AI in action. I mentioned this already, but the camera on your phone automatically enhancing your photos, or even a DSLR camera with the auto setting, choosing a type of AI to help you do your photos and your videos better. Smart home devices, so thermostats, smart lights, smart refrigerators, your robot vacuum cleaner, all using a type of AI to help you live your life at home. Fitness trackers, getting outside of the home, maybe counting your steps, your sleep patterns, your movement, etc., using a type of AI, just watching you. Recommendation systems, so anybody watch Netflix, Amazon Prime, Apple TV, that kind of thing, suggesting shows you probably like. This is very similar to that social media feed. It's seeing what you like and pointing to things that you might like in the future. How about your car? So driver assist technology, keeping you safe, driving in between the lines, automatically slowing down when a car is in front of you, etc. My car, I have a pretty new Subaru. Message comes on telling me, "Hey, you've been driving for 2 hours." I had to figure out what it meant because it's worded sort of weird, but again, they're just trying to help you be safe. But all of those are different types of AI tools in action. Used your bank in the last week. So I use Bank of America. There is a chat bot named Erica built into the Bank of America app. So I can use it to say, hey, what's my balance like if I wanted to. But also on the back end, there's a lot of AI going on the back end with banking these days. So when your bank flags something, fraud detection features, that kind of thing, or your credit card flags something, that's probably an AI tool just speeding through all of the transactions saying, hey, this one looks weird. Shopping online. So Amazon Prime, I just used that today. Personalized recommendations based on past shopping activity or your customer profile. My grocery store does the same thing too. So all of these tools and services that we just went through really quickly are using some form of AI to do what they do. So again, who has used AI this week? My guess is most of you have in some way, shape, or form. And that's why we're talking about it. Because some of it's new, some of it's not so new, but we all need to know more about it. So, what is AI? We're using it. Let's figure out what it is. And there's different types of AI. So first, general definition from Wikipedia. So it's at least it said a few months ago, artificial intelligence in its broadest sense is intelligence exhibited by machines. I'll say quote unquote intelligence. And it's software that enables machines to perceive their environment and use learning and intelligence to take actions based on that environment or based on what it's seeing. This is Google's version because they're deep into AI as well. So they say AI is a set of technologies that are based primarily on machine learning and deep learning, which we've had those terms for a while now. But those two things used for data analytics, predictions and forecasting, object categorization, natural language processing, recommendations, etc. That object categorization, it just made me think, my camera these days, I can take a photo of a plant and then there's a thing I can click on to find out what type of plant it is, and it's usually pretty accurate. It'll say this is a lily or whatever. That's object categorization in action, among other things. So good definitions in a general sense, but let's dive a little deeper into that because there are at least 6 types of AI going on right now. They overlap a little bit, but let's go through them. The first one is narrow intelligence. So this is some of the things we just talked about. AI that's tailored to do very specific tasks. So think Apple Siri or Google Assistant. They excel in understanding and responding to voice commands, but they can only do the tasks they're programmed for now. Like I can say, Siri, text my wife, and Siri is right next to my computer right now and just came on because I said that. But it will do that. That's something it's programmed to do. Next up is generative, which is the one that's made the big splash right now, and we'll dive into that a little bit more in a sec. So ChatGPT, Google's Gemini, etc. Basically, you type something in and it creates a sentence or an image, etc. Gives you the information you're trying to get. Reactive AI is something that reacts to the surrounding environment. So it reacts to light, sound, pressure, movement, or your body, that kind of thing. So wearables fit here, reacting to your steps, your heart rate, your sleep patterns, etc. Predictive AI. So this is something that analyzes data to make predictions, recommendations, and decisions. Netflix algorithm fits here. So it's suggesting things you'll watch based on your watch history. For example, my grocery store would fit there as well. See, limited memory AI. So this is a slightly weird one. It uses recent data to enhance its decision-making process. So your Roomba vacuum cleaner, if there's shoes in the way, it'll bump into them and go around. It's using recent data to enhance its decision-making process. Self-driving cars also fit here. The AI is continually adjusting to changing driving conditions and rules that are programmed in by quickly learning from what just happened. Okay, prescriptive AI. So prescriptive AI is prescribing an action based on data. So telling you what to do based on the data it's gathered. And I guess there's a difference between predictive AI and prescriptive AI. So predictive AI is forecasting the future based on the past or current real-time data, just saying, here's what I think is going to happen, while prescriptive AI is saying, here's what I want you to do based on what I'm seeing. So slightly different. And then there's also, this is a 7th category, some theoretical ones that you'll see in articles right now that are talking about AI, the types of AI. And to me, these things get into Blade Runner or Star Wars territory. I think one's called the theory of mind and one's called self-aware. So think C3PO, an android that can fully communicate, move around with everybody using a ton of AI. And it's that theory of mind and self-aware type of thing. So not there yet, still theoretical. I think that's probably where we're headed. We will see. Sounds sort of freaky weird to me, but could also be sort of cool. I don't know. So brief introduction to different types of AI. Let's get some practical things going and focus on libraries. So can AI be used in libraries? Well, I would say yes, definitely. Let's look at some examples. First, for some general things you can do using AI tools, especially using some of the generative AI tools like ChatGPT, Google's Gemini, or Microsoft Copilot. So they do these things pretty easily and pretty nicely. So brainstorming, asking for ideas, asking how and where to start, that kind of thing. If you're stuck on a project at the beginning of a project, start typing into the prompt box, and you can basically have a conversation. It's what it would feel like a little and look like, and you'll get some ideas generated. Really good at first drafts. So you can ask one of these tools to create a draft of a blog post or an article, for example, and input relevant information. It will continue to improve that. And then you can take that, use it, write the real thing. Outlining does really well at this. If I could have outlined this presentation, I could have said, I'm doing a presentation on practical AI in libraries. Here are the points I want to hit. Give me an outline. And it would have done that. Would have done pretty well too. Creative titles. So brainstorming again, if you're stuck on a title for a blog post or an article, that kind of thing, you can ask AI to generate ideas. Say, give me 10 creative titles on this. So great at brainstorming. Coding, it creates code that works, code of all types. So if you work on websites and you're stuck, especially on like, if some of you have ever messed with like WordPress or something like that, once in a while you have to add little code snippets to help like a plugin do its thing. If you get stuck on that, one way to get unstuck is just to ask one of these generative AI tools to create it for you. It'll probably work. Won't be the cleanest code ever. It's not going to win any prize, but it will work. And again, get you started. Think of it as a draft, a workable draft. Summaries. Dump in a large document, ask for a one-page summary or a one-paragraph summary. So I'll be talking about Microsoft Copilot in a bit, but a few people in my department use Microsoft Copilot's summarizing feature in our email to summarize a long thread of emails, or even, some of you can probably relate to this. You might have a long-winded emailer, I'll say it that way. Somebody who really just needs 3 things done, but it's like this article-sized email. Like, oh boy, what are they asking for? You can click on the summarize button if you have Copilot as part of like your Microsoft 365 subscription, so integrated into Outlook, and it'll just do that. It'll give you the summary saying, here's what this person wants. So some of my computer techs have done that before very successfully. SEO tools. So these tools will help find relevant keywords or help with labeling in articles and outlines and like navigation bars, that kind of thing. Image creation tools, we saw that a little earlier. So you can use a generative AI image generator. Adobe, Canva, both have them built in. Then there are some more specific image generator tools like Stable Diffusion or DALL-E, DALL-E. I want to have support on there just because you can install an AI chatbot like on your website to answer some really basic things. It's a way to do it. If you've ever interacted with chat support online for any number of things, your bank, a doctor, a car, etc., just those things that pop up, it's most likely using an AI chatbot for starters until it moves you to the right place. Sometimes those are irritating, but nonetheless, that's there. And there's a lot more. This list is just scratching the surface. So go play with them and see what they do for you. Let's see. An example from me using Microsoft Copilot. So we had a 4-page document with stats and insights from all of what we call our digital library products. So our website, social media, podcast, etc. And I was tasked with summarizing all of these things. So I asked Copilot to summarize it, did a great job. It gave me a paragraph blurb, which you're seeing here. And then I took that and asked Copilot this. I said, based on the information in this document, please pull our top 5 areas to focus on for growth or improvements. Mainly just curious to see what it would do. It did a great job. Some of these are useful ideas and next steps. Well, all of them are. In some cases, it didn't really know how we're set up. Like it considered our BiblioCommons library catalog discovery layer a website. And so it was like, well, here's how you can change that. I was like, no, I can't touch that, but thanks. Don't know if I want to drive more people to the catalog versus the website, but useful to think about. So Copilot didn't know that's our library catalog. And the podcast listener insights one, number 2 there. It's really good too. What it didn't know was that we were going to maybe not do a podcast for a while, right? But again, good suggestions. And this list actually gave us some things to think about. All right, here's another example. Boring work one. Debbie, our public services manager, had a document with a ton of like 5 or 6 pages of business names and contacts. And she wanted to add a 3rd column matching the business to an industry. So she dumped them into, I think, Google's Gemini and asked for the industry for each of those businesses. And she got the answer in 5 seconds and then was able to add those to this document. So that red circle is showing that was generated by AI. So she got some work done really fast. She could have done it herself, taken an hour to look up each of those businesses and find out what their industry was and add it to her document. Or she could do it in 5 minutes, which is better, right? It's never a bad thing to remove boring work from your day and moving on to the more fun stuff. So saving time doing the less fun, detail-y work. Generative AI excels at that. Training. Training fits into this general category because we do this well as libraries, and we need to be training our customers and our staff on AI. What it is, how to use it, etc. So this example is from the City of Palo Alto Library. I love this one, developing your skills using AI storytelling. I think that's a fun use of AI. So there sounds like they are using some of these tools like ChatGPT to help them create a unique custom story based on their user prompts, and then getting images and an audio version of it from there. So having fun telling a story, but at the same time, they're teaching multiple AI tools. That's a creative way to do it. So kudos for them for figuring that out. A little closer to home for me, Kansas State University. They are teaching their academic community about AI tools, how to create a text prompt, how to create AI images, copyright in AI, that's pretty important, et cetera. In fact, there's a local university here in town in Topeka that is working on a certificate, an AI certificate. They'll have that up pretty soon. I think it's not for this fall semester, but for the spring semester. I think they have 5 or 6 classes lined up. You'll come out with a certificate saying, I'm an AI professional. Sort of cool. Great resume stuffer, if nothing else. Okay, so those were some general concepts. Now let's look at some more specific tools. First with some of those generative and free tools again. well, most of them are free. So ChatGPT and Google's Gemini, they have a free version. At least with ChatGPT, you can pay to get faster and more new kind of stuff, but the free one works fine. Microsoft Copilot, not really free. Last I looked, it's $30 per person per license to add that to. So costs a bit of money. We have at my library, we have 10 of those licenses right now. So like I have one, so we can start playing with it, figuring out what it does. But that version will add Copilot into all your Microsoft stuff. So Word, Excel, Outlook, etc. So in Word, it will generate text. So think drafts, edits, summaries, that kind of thing. PowerPoint, it creates a presentation from a text prompt or a Word file. So I could have dumped the outline I made with ChatGPT into Copilot and said, hey, I need slides. And it could have done that as well. I don't know. I don't do much with Excel, but apparently, I mean, you can do drafts there too and suggestions for formulas. It'll give you that kind of stuff. So if anybody is an Excel whiz, go play with that. Outlook, you can draft an email, summarize email threads, like I mentioned already. And this part I think is cool. Tips and suggestions on clarity, sentiment, and tone of voice. So anybody ever write a grumpy mad email and then delete it and then start over to try to make it sound less like you're irritated? Yeah, nobody's ever done that, right? With this tool, you can start with your grumpy email and say, please make this nice. And it will help you do that without just having to completely start over. That could be pretty helpful for some of us, right? But all of these tools sound pretty useful. And the ones of us at my library that have this are finding it interesting and useful. Let's see, search engines I mentioned early on. So example of Google, just a Google search, how do you boil an egg? Once in a while these days, Google will give you an AI answer as well. And then you can look at the AI suggestion and see if it's helpful. It doesn't always appear, it's appearing more often. The weird thing here, besides it often being pretty accurate, is that search engines are slowly turning into answer engines. Sort of weird, right? They're looking through some of the search results and giving you an answer based on those search results. Very different use of a search engine than we're all used to, right? Image stuff. So Adobe has something called Adobe Firefly, which is a very generative AI tool. We'll create text, create an image from text. It will do what's called generative fill. So, expand this image out, put more color on the edges, that kind of thing. You can ask it to do different things that way. Looks like soon they'll be generating video. There's generative remove. So instead of circling the tree to remove it from the photo, you can just say, hey, remove that tree from the photo by typing, and it will do that. Canva also has some similar types of tools and some different ones. So I would suggest trying some. You can get a Canva account for free and go play with some of these tools. And my marketing department uses both of these in their daily work right now. They find them pretty handy. These tools pretty handy. Going a few steps farther, so zip. I think it's zipwp.com maybe. Zipwp.com will create a whole WordPress website from a text prompt. Also notice that this company is saying, we create the first draft of your website and then you add the magic. I actually read, see if I can find that here. Well, it's in the next slide. So what this does basically is create, you can say, I need 5 pages, the about page, a product page, etc. And it will create basic outlines of those pages. And then you can add the real stuff. So I was curious. So I started searching around for people who have used some of these tools. And this was in Reddit. Um, Somebody who builds websites for a living. And they said this, they said normally it would take 8 to 10 hours to design and build a simple 5 page website for a small business with your usual like home page, services page, features, about us, and contact pages. Um, they have to build it, tweak it, find images, edit those images, modify the CSS and the HTML code to get it to look right. Usually takes 8 to 10 hours. But with some of these AI website generator tools, it took less than 5 minutes to describe what they're looking for, and then it created that outline page website. And then from there, this person still had to do the normal tweaking of things. So took under 2 hours instead of 8 to 10 hours. So this person's point is my job's not obsolete, but I can get more done in less amount of time. It's going to save me time, maybe help me make more money that way. So cool thought. Not quite sure where this is going, but very cool thought. This is a fun looking tool. So anybody who makes short videos, like for short form videos for like TikTok or Instagram Reels or Facebook Reels or YouTube Shorts, most social media have this kind of video anymore. Submagic.co is a pretty cool tool. It adds for short form video, it adds dynamic captions and emojis, gives you faster text-based trimming. And this text-based trimming is pretty cool. You upload your video, then you can click remove silence or remove filler words. So all those ums and ahs, you can edit from that transcription. So if you remove a sentence, it removes that part of the video. Pretty cool. Some of the fancier short form interview videos that you see have used these types of tools. Something fun to play with. This is something my library uses. It's not really so focused on the AI parts, though it is using it. So OptimoRoute is basically a courier routing service. So we do a lot of home deliveries. We deliver to a bunch of businesses in the area, just books and stuff that people put on hold in our county. And we use OptimoRoute for that. We put in all of the stops we're making that day into a spreadsheet, dump it in an OptimoRoute, and then they use the power of Google Maps to give us the best route. So it's using Google Maps AI tools to help us be the most productive with our courier driving. Pretty cool tool. And it's fun that I can say, hey, my library is using this just with our courier services. Something to think about. So basically, this is like an Uber or a Lyft type service for a business, helping us get the best route and getting deliveries done and then back as fast as we can, as well as we can, I guess. My library has used this tool in the past, play.ht, for YouTube video narration. You drop in your text and this tool will spit back out a voice that sounds real. Couldn't really tell the difference. So you can pay a voice actor $1,000 to $3,000 or more to do it, to read the narration, or you can do this if you don't have anybody who sounds really good doing voice narration. Something to think about. It's helped us with some videos. This is another tool we use, sort of a pricey tool. So this tool is a digital asset management tool that mainly, we're a bigger library, so our marketing department uses this for image management. So instead of having to sort through thousands of, image123.jpg files in like a Microsoft folder, we dump all of our marketing images, assets, digital assets into Canto, and it will first give us a visual search, which is nice based on tags and categories and subject headings. The AI part of this is that it will give you smart tags, sort of like Flickr and some of these other tools do these days. So like their example there, if you are searching for images of glasses, you don't have to go through each image and say, this image includes glasses, a lady laughing, somebody wearing an orange shirt, etc. It will just automatically, through the power of AI, list those things out as smart tags, so you don't have to do it. Again, helping my marketing department find images faster. Cool tool. This I thought was a pretty interesting thing to do, interacting with your personas. All right, so if anybody's ever done strategic planning for your library or for a service at your library, maybe for website planning, sometimes you might create 3 or 4 different personas. So a persona is like, this is a woman, like a mom in her 30s who uses the library, and then you try to make your strategic planning meet the needs of that person, quote unquote, or persona. That's what a persona is. But so this is a fun idea. So this was in an article I read. So this sleep wellness company used Gemini's AI tools to basically role play customer personas. They asked Gemini to look at different social media trends, reports, et cetera, and help create personas, first of all. But then after they had those personas created, and this company was also working with an agency to help with this. Once they had their audiences created, they then created some personas. And then after that, they interacted with each persona. They interviewed the personas. They asked Google Gemini to pretend to be that person, that persona, thinking about their hobbies and their lifestyle and that kind of thing. And then they would ask questions and get responses back, basically sort of like a focus group, but without real people. It helped this company target their marketing and their strategic campaign on those personas. I don't know if it was successful. I don't know if the company made millions of dollars from that, but pretty cool idea. And that's something that we can do now for free. Like that's pretty awesome. Also, there are some general AI tools, and some pretty specific ones that library vendors are starting to create. Let's look at those. Just a few listed. I think there are more coming up pretty soon. Actually, before I get to these, if you were at ALA Annual, the big conference this last summer, into June, some of the tech companies, like Envisionware, for example, had a few different AI tools out to show off. So some had robots. This one specifically I thought about, Envisionware had this huge digital screen, like 5 or 6 foot digital screen with a virtual person on it. I think it was a young woman, and you could ask her questions like, where are the books? Where's the bathroom? Where's the meeting room? That kind of thing. And they would basically give you an answer, help you figure that out. Sort of like having a greeter at the door of your library, but a virtual one instead of a real person. I don't know if anybody's going to actually use that, but it was cool seeing a few of these vendors, our library vendors, start to play with some of these AI tools. Okay, so OCLC wise, OCLC has a few different AI-based tools. So OCLC wise, it's a web-based library catalog. They are using predictive analytics for collection development, also using personalized user recommendations. I think they can wish your customers a happy birthday on their birthday, that kind of thing, and send them email saying, hey, you're that author that you like, here's another book that you might like. It's that kind of stuff. And using some AI tools to do that. A deduplifier by OCLC. This is an automated deduplication tool that they use as part of their metadata services. So they're using algorithms to identify and manage duplicate records across their library collections that they have probably in WorldShare and that kind of thing. So some deduping tools that are AI focused. And then WorldShare AI in general. So their big library cooperative, it's using AI to enhance resource discovery and also to streamline cataloging. So I think right now they're doing AI-driven classification, saying this book should have this subject heading, that kind of thing. Innovative interfaces, Vega Discover. They're also experimenting with AI. So they are using a responsive AI tool that optimizes the library's website content for making it responsive. So making it look correct on different screen sizes with one click rather than a whole bunch of coding on the back end or adding plugins, that kind of thing. Ex Libris, Alma has some AI-driven analytics for collection development and assessment, some automated workflows for resource management, that kind of thing. They've got a few different tools. I think one focused on interlibrary loan also, so optimizing that process, trying to speed up locating and requesting materials for patrons. Again, cool that they're using some of these tools. Okay, Talpa is from Library Thing. It's their newer search engine. And basically they're using Talpa to, how am I saying this? They're using it to validate items against true and authoritative bibliographic data. So doing queries from large language models like Anthropic, it's another tool similar to Google Gemini. Asking it for books, for ChatGPT as well, a list of books, and then validating that against Library Things database. And then it's also using natural language abilities to help parse and understand queries in their database. So just a newer way to do that. So, for example, a search for novels about World War II in France, which is natural language. So that natural language search will tap into subjects, tags, and character data from Library Thing. Pretty cool use and a very focused library catalog use in a way. Probably where we're going with our library-focused search engines. Okay, so we just talked through a bunch of tools that incorporate AI, talked about some ways we might use AI in libraries as well. Now for the fun, exciting part, library policies in 10 minutes or less. Okay, so there are some libraries of all types thinking about and creating some policies around AI use in their libraries. So go to Google, type in AI policy for public libraries, that kind of thing, and you'll find some. So do we need an AI policy? I'm not sure. I think my library director thinks we probably will at some point. So we don't have one right now, but what we are doing, we're creating some staff guidelines just around use. So not really something that goes to our board. A guideline for us does not, but helps us define, here's what you can and cannot do with AI tools. And also, in some cases, your normal library policies might cover some of the things that we'll see in a sec. Maybe, maybe not, but good to think about, definitely. Also, remember that AI technology is morphing pretty fast. So if you do create a policy that has to go get voted on by your board, keep it really general because you don't want to have to revisit doing that voting thing and rewriting parts of a policy every 3 months, right? That's no fun. All right, so I'm looking at Galena Public Library District's AI policy. I liked theirs. I thought it did a good general job, and it's very forward focused, I think. Okay, so first, they have a pretty general opening statement in their policy. And basically, they are, as a library, formally committing to exploring the use of AI. I thought that was pretty cool. They're saying, yes, this is huge. We need to focus on this. They have a big section on privacy. The library will not use patron data, staff personal information, or quote unquote trade secrets when developing resources using AI. So the thing here you have to remember is that, especially with the general AI tools like ChatGPT, don't dump personalized information into those tools because people are thinking that it's being remembered and it might come back in other places at some point in time because it's all probably being fed into the huge database that is that large language model. Something to think about. So personnel documents, private patron information, stuff that's not ready for public viewing, don't dump into those more general tools. Just something to remember, and so good that they're stating that. Also, intellectual property, the library is wanting to respect copyright and fair use laws when developing resources around AI tools. So again, sometimes those big general generative AI systems swipe content without attribution. I'll say quote unquote swipe. They're getting it from other places on the web. And then they incorporate that into their content that they spit back out. Also, sometimes they make stuff up. So both of those things are things you need to remember when you're using AI tools. So check your work, right? This is a new tool, something we should always be doing. Transparency. I'm not as sure about this one. So when AI is used in developing resources, the library will mark the copy and images that are created by AI. So I would say yes to if you use AI to write a whole blog post and just dump that onto your library's blog or news section. Yeah, you should probably say this was created using AI. But like those 10 creative titles I mentioned earlier, helping do brainstorm. If you used one of those 10, you're like, that's the best title. Do you have to mention the title was created by AI? That seems weird. And then also just thinking about the graphic designers in my library and our marketing department using AI to add a bit more to a poster to fill out the edges or to change some colors or remove something. Do they really need to mention that? I mean, they've always been manipulating images way before these newer type of AI tools were created because Adobe did that 5 years ago too, right? Just not using AI tools. Those are just things that a good graphic designer does. It would be weird to mention that. However, if they just dumped an image made by AI into like an article or on a brochure, maybe, to be transparent. So your mileage might vary there. No real answers, but definitely something to think about when you say big general statements like that, certainly. Responsibility, again, yes, review all AI generated sources for errors, etc. You should always do that. 20 years ago, you should have done that. That still holds true with new tools. But good that they're stating that so they can say, oh yeah, we have to do this too. This is my favorite part, lifelong learning. They're saying again, formally saying in a policy, the library will invest in AI technology so that staff can figure it out. We'll share it with our customers so staff can figure it out, so customers can figure it out. I think that's great. That's a huge commitment. I don't know about this. I don't know much about this library, but to me, that means budgeting and training on the back end and also providing guidance and resources to the community. So cool that they're stating that. And that's their short policy. Again, they kept it pretty vague, and they kept it really forward thinking, which I think is good, rather than locking down and saying we won't use these tools. We'll only use it for certain things that some libraries are doing right now. So good for Galena Public Library District. All right, next steps. We need to evolve and train our staff and our customers. And it's really easy to do, just like anything we've always done. Use the tool, see what it does, see how it can help your library where it falls short. Maybe it can help you do something in your job faster, maybe not, but good to try it and know and figure it out, right? And then also think about what your customers need to know about some of these new tools, and don't let it freak them out. Instead, show them how it works, what the pitfalls are, and help guide them to evolve as well. All right, that is my presentation. I'm going to stop sharing, and I think we'll have a couple of minutes for questions. That was pretty fast and furious. I know there's a ton there about AI. So, does anybody have any questions? Feel free to drop them in the group chat. Might just be a lot to think about too.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah,
Thank you,
there's
David, very much for kind of getting us up to speed, at least of what's out there right now with AI. It is much appreciated because there is a lot out there. And
yeah.
thank you all for attending, and have a great weekend.
Yeah, all right.